Hello, prospective parents, prospective students. I know you find yourselves in a very difficult position right now. I've been there before myself. And that's about trying to choose the right school for your son. And of course, part of my responsibility is to try to convince you to think that Rondebosch Bosch would be the best place for your son to come to. But saying that, it's really important to bear in mind that schools are not one-size-fits-all institutions. Different schools are different ethoses, different schools are different feelings. Some schools feel better to other people. And you'll know when you enter a school and you've had a look at it and you've heard about it and you've seen it, if this is the kind of place that your son is going to be happy in. Of course, the difference between Rondebosch Bosch and some other schools is that it's a single-sex school, it's a monastic school, and we deal particularly with boys. So to some people that could be seen as a disadvantage. Obviously from our perspective that's a huge advantage. We know that from research that boys learn differently from girls. I know from being a head of co-ed schools that in the first few years of schooling the academic program, academic success is very largely predominated by girls, and the boys tend to slip into the background, and that's because girls mature faster than boys. There's also a kind of language that boys hear and respond to better, and there's an environment that they feel more comfortable in. On a very simple level, you'll often hear the idea that boys like direction. They like to be told what it is they have to do. They like to know who is in control. They like to know when it will end and what exactly is expected of them. It's a very sort of simple formula, but by and large in the classroom it works really well because that's what boys feel comfortable with. And so a boys' school environment often is very successful academically with boys in the latter part of their school career, their grade 10, 11 and 12 years, when they start to mature, when they catch up to girls, and when they're hearing the kind of language that appeals to them and getting the kind of content that appeals to them. So from my perspective, although I'm obviously going to tell you this because I'm the head of a boys' school, I'm very confident that boys' schooling offers most boys, or at least some boys, a better environment to be taught. That's not to say that boys don't do well in co-ed schooling. Of course they do, and a number of boys will thrive even better in an environment where they're with their peers and there are girls in the classroom. So we always find from our prep school that while we get most of the boys coming through, at least 15 of the group will go into co-ed schooling because that's what their parents choose for them, and they thrive there and they're happy there, and we absolutely understand that. Our school has a particular ethos which is driven by our school's motto, which you may or may not have heard, is Altius et Latius, higher and wider. So driving everything we do is this idea that boys must be given the opportunity to grow higher and wider. Of course, naturally they're growing up, they're getting bigger, but they also need to expand their horizons and be offered opportunities which they can see different perspectives. And that's obviously part of the imperative of that particular motto. We also have a vision for the school, which was expanded and developed fairly recently. And so I'm going to read to you the Bosch 125 vision. It says, in its 125th year, the young men of Rondebosch Bosch are confident and able to pursue their dreams. They are resilient, adaptable, and equipped with the educational, ethical, social, and emotional competencies to effect significant change and lasting change in a changing world. Now, obviously, if we're going to talk about ethical, social, emotional, and educational imperatives and competencies, then we're forced by our vision to focus on these. And that means our program has to look at each of those competencies and see that we're meeting them in boys. And so that's what drives us in terms of our planning, in terms of our physical planning development, and also in terms of our curriculum. So while we are offering the National Senior Certificate curriculum, we're also offering a few extras, a few things that we think will add to the ethical, social, and emotional abilities of the boys who leave this school. And we certainly see that in the success of our old boys in various areas and how they've grown and been able to use what they've learned at school to develop themselves. I think a lot of schools become quite expert at marketing themselves, and they increasingly offer glossy brochures and video clips, much like this, and 360 online tours, and you're bombarded with the typical catchphrases that go with marketing a school. Catchphrases like, "We are committed to excellence." I don't think any school ever says the opposite. That we set high standards, that this is a place where all can grow and find their niche. The late Simon Hoggett used the phrase, "the law of ridiculous returns," which states, if the opposite of a statement is completely absurd, then it's not really worth making the statement at all. So while we are committed to excellence, I don't think it makes us any different from any of the other boys' schools or top schools in the country, for that matter. I think all schools would be rather stupid to say they're not committed to excellence. But we are committed to ensuring that your child receives a proper education. We're committed to ensuring that we cover the curriculum and more to give them a broad experience through education. So I think I'm probably speaking to a large number of the converted, but there'll be some of you among you who are still unsure. And I always feel that the best marketing tool for a school is its boys, or its student body, in our case boys. And I think it would be the right thing to do to talk to parents who have boys at the school, to talk to boys who are at the school, pupils who you know have gone on to Ron Bosch, and get their experience. If their experience is bad, then there might be something in that. If it's bad for every boy, then there's something definitely in that. So to talk to parents, to talk to boys, to talk to the boys at the school coming out of the gate, to look at the boys as they come out of the gate. What do they look like? How do they respond to you? How do they speak to adults? How do they respond to the world around them? Those are the best marketing tools for a school. I really would encourage you to use that marketing. I believe that boys' schooling across the Western Cape is excellent. And if you were to choose any of the boys' schools in this area for your son, there's no doubt he would thrive. Do I believe we have the edge? Of course I do. Of course I believe Ron Bosch is the best boys' school, but I'm sure all the other heads would say the same to you. And I think you have to go to the school and see how it feels to you to make that decision. I've been in your position before. I've had to look at schooling for my own children, and I understand the pressures and the concerns that it brings with it, and also the self-doubt. You're never entirely sure whether you chose the right school. So while I encourage you to come to Ron Bosch, and I would like to tell you that this is going to be a great fit for your son, I do think it's really important that you do your homework and check up on us and see how we do outside of my words and outside of the behaviors that you see from this office. Good luck to you in your process of trying to find the right place for your son, and good luck to you grade 7s in your last year of schooling. Do the best you can do and set yourselves up well for the future and for the opportunities that you'll make for yourselves in coming to the kind of school that will give you the best opportunity in life. Thank you.